Hello, everyone. Welcome to Get Real. Get Real is an opportunity for high school students to explore university and career options with our own ISKL alumni working or studying around the world. It's a chance to find out more about university and work life and to ask the important questions in a small group environment. Today, we have Alina Katz from the class of 2018. Alina is from Costa Rica and the United States, and just like every third culture kid, she's moved around the world quite a bit. She started at ISKL in 2015 and graduated in 2018. She started her bachelor's that same year at the University College Utrecht in the Netherlands, and she moved in the summer of 2018, having never been to Europe before. And like with any new place, there was a bit of culture shock while she was adjusting to her new home. She studied at UCU for 3 years. She learned many things, both inside and outside of the classroom. She was part of the yearbook team, volunteered, and managed on the on-campus bar. She joined a fraternity, which I'm really interested to hear what that is, called ABP, went to protests, and even discovered many other wonderful communities and people that enriched her time there. She just graduated this past June with a social sciences degree in politics, geography, and sociology. She has started her master's degree in September at the University of Peace in Costa Rica, studying environment development and the Peace Program with a specialization in climate change. Having moved to a new place has given her the chance to reflect on her experience at UCU and the Netherlands, and she hopes to be able to make your transition a little easier by sharing her experiences and answering any questions that you have. And she promises me that you can truly ask her anything. She's an open book. So with that, we'll get started today. Alina, I give the floor over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm really excited to be here. I have my little list of stuff that I won't forget about, but obviously, well, Liam, if you have any questions, just go ahead and ask. It's totally chill. So I guess we'll just start with the culture shock component of moving. And there were sort of two levels of culture shock. One of just being in Europe and Netherlands just being in the Netherlands in general, and then being in Europe in general, and then being at UCU. And so there obviously are the obvious things, like the weather. The Netherlands has 4 seasons, and the winter was, it's cold, but you never know how cold it is until you're actually feeling the cold yourself. So I was always it's good to know how to make soup and stuff like that. And speaking of soups, the food was definitely a bit of a culture shock for me. I was used to eating really flavorful things, having a lot of different options in Malaysia, being able to easily go somewhere and get a couple things to eat. But as a student, it's obviously a little harder to be able to do that. Eating out food in the Netherlands is a little bit expensive. So it's definitely not sustainable. It's more of a treat yourself kind of thing. I quickly had to learn how to manage my time, make 3 meals for myself every single day. Because at my university, while there is a dining hall, how it works keeps changing. It changed twice in the time that I was there. So you can have a meal card, but I don't know if they still do that. So preparing yourself to learn, hopefully you learn how to make a couple meals before you leave, so that you're good to go. Some easy stuff. Yeah, because you're going to be doing the majority of your cooking and sharing a kitchen with other people. It's really different to live with random people that you probably haven't met before moving in day. So managing those relationships sometimes takes a little bit of skill and patience. But honestly, in my experience, I only really had good experiences with the people that I lived with. And I lived with a lot of people, with 10 people at one point. Well, actually at 2 points, and then with 6 people in the middle. So obviously you have things like, whose dirty plate is this? But honestly, that was one of like the nice experiences of having someone always when you get home, you can talk about your classes, you can have dinners together and breakfast and stuff like that. Breakfast and lunch are cold meals over there usually. So yeah, so don't, if someone is eating a cold lunch, they might poke fun at your hot breakfast, but pay them no mind. Rice is an acceptable breakfast food, and I stand by that. More in general things, there's some like official errands that you kind of have to do once you get there, like immigration office and stuff like that. But one of the more confusing ones for me was in terms of like medical, like having a doctor. It's really important that you have what's like a general practitioner, like a GP. Like figure that out as fast as you can. Once you're in Europe, it's like super easy to travel around Europe itself. It's, you have so many options. You can take a, well, depending on where you are, you can take a bus or train or a plane, obviously. And there's some really cheap flights available. Recently, there was a promotion from Ryanair for like 15 euro tickets to go to like England or Paris, I think. So that's like one of the really nice things about being in the EU and being in Europe. It's just so easy to travel around if you can manage your time and really get over there and see as much as possible. Highly recommend.
Being in Europe when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, and it's your first experience over there, you want to see and do all of the things, but you still have to study and you still have to crack a book or two. So what were some of the things that you did to try to find some balance or manage your time?
Best thing I think that I did was have like a place where I could go study. If you are living with other students, it's often pretty hard to get stuff done at home because they become your friends. They have friends over, you want to have friends over. So really finding like a library or cafe or something like that is so important to be able to just like sit and study. It's also like having a calendar and having an agenda so that you actually can keep yourself organized. You're not going to have anybody reminding you about anything. No one's going to be reminding you to eat. No one's going to be reminding you to go to bed or to wake up or to get your stuff done. You have to be like your own alarm clock, sort of. So I literally have reminders for everything on my phone. They also pop up on my computer. So as soon as I know that something's happening, I write it down to make sure I don't forget, because there is so much that you want to do. And I want to go do everything. I want to see everyone. But obviously there needs to be time for everything. So putting it in a schedule is honestly like one of the best things. I think it's also important to remember to be kind to yourself with the studying. At UCU, the workload maybe is not so different as what IB is, maybe a little bit more. But it feels like a lot more because you have to take care of so many other things at the same time. You have to clean your room, like you have to clean your whole house. You're doing all those things, cooking, going grocery shopping, taking care of official things, and also like taking breaks. So often the workload can feel like a lot more than what you're used to just because you have so many other things going on. And that's totally fine. Like something that I did a lot was I would study with friends. It would help me concentrate, and we would all put our phones in a pile and turn off everything, only working on the thing. And we each had our own different like study techniques that we used. I like the Pomodoro method. We study for 30, break for 5. And then every hour, or like, no, every 4 cycles, you get like a 10 or 15-minute break. Different friends were like, go hard for 2 hours and then break for 1 and stuff like that. You really have the opportunity to discover what works best for you. If you read better on the computer, if you prefer to have it printed, things like that. There's so many small things that you can do to help yourself.
You know, in university, at least I can speak for my experience in the States, and I'm sure it's similar other places, you have to be a lot more self-directed, right? Like nobody is going to hold your hand and make sure you submit your assignments and remind you about the test next week. So what would you say your experience in dealing with your professors and those kinds of things was like?
Yeah, it's more of like a professional feeling as opposed to like a teacher student interaction like you have in high school. And I think the best thing that you can do is sort of respect their time, understanding that if you send them an email Friday afternoon, they're probably not going to look at it until Monday. Or if you send them an email at like, we would end class at like 5. So if I sent them something at 4:30, they were probably not going to read it. And I found this out the hard way. If you send them really long emails with really long explanations or questions, they're probably not going to read it. They'll probably just be like, we'll just make an appointment to meet in person. So that's a little embarrassing for me. So hopefully you guys.
I will say that you will find that to be true the more you get into the professional world as well. Yeah, and it's something you have to learn. People are busy and they don't read.
Exactly. As few sentences as possible while still being polite and getting to the point works wonders.
I think the biggest questions for me personally have been around trying to deal with like what things I need to have when I do go to like what skills I should probably have when I start moving into dorms and things like that. Those are probably the bigger ones.
Do you know what kind of like living situation you're gonna have? Is it sort of like the high school traditional dorms, or is it?
It is a single study bedroom. It's self-accommodation completely. So bringing everything I need in. It's 12 people per kitchen as well. So it's sharing.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, I can definitely help you with this. One of the things that I did with all of my different houses that I lived in, which were 3, we had a cleaning schedule that we established, like sat down, agreed upon at the beginning, because I promise you, most of the conflicts are going to be about cleaning inside of the house. Whether it's dirty dishes, whether it's like, whose turn is it to clean the toilet? Someone left this out, et cetera, et cetera. It's mostly about cleaning. So however you want to organize yourselves, like cleaning is really, it's really hard, especially when it's a lot of people who have just left their homes. And like, for me, I'm a very disorganized person. My personal spaces are spread out, let's say. So even though I know this about myself, like, you know, there's a difference between messy and dirty, and I'm not a dirty person. But even if you are messy and dirty or dirty, you have to consciously work against that, especially in the shared spaces. Because while you can survive in your own mess, other people can't and shouldn't have to. And you don't want to live in other people's messes either. I also think that having shared dinners is like awesome. It's like such a good way, like to just, even if you guys aren't eating the same food, to just sit down together and chat. Sometimes your housemates can really become some of your best friends. And it's really important to not let like small things get in between that possible friendship, which can really stick with you forever.
How would you say you dealt with any sort of conflict? I think like in my roommate situations in university, I also definitely agree you will always fight over the dirty dishes. But inevitably, especially we are always, you know, a big house full of girls, and you start arguing over things. How do you manage conflict? Is that something new that you maybe never had to deal with in the same way before. How do you manage conflict with roommates in a living situation like that?
Yeah, it's definitely very different than, like, for example, me and my brother arguing. I would always take like a moment. I would make sure to have a conversation, but I would always go into that conversation with a clear head. And sometimes if that means you have to write down what you want to say so that you make sure to stick to those points instead of getting emotional about it. Because obviously you will be emotional, maybe you're angry or upset. So it's important to take a moment and be like, okay, why am I upset? Oh, so-and-so hasn't cleaned their laundry and is starting to mold. Okay, that is the problem. I will approach them and say, always calmly, hey, oftentimes things not being cleaned or someone slacking a little bit is sometimes a reflection of how they're doing. And so I would also, it's important to check in and just be like, hey, like, to help me understand, do you need a little help or something like that? Because it's not always out of malicious, obviously, it's not a malicious intent. I'm going to leave this here to piss everyone off. It's sometimes, someone's having a rough time, they miss home or they're sick. So it's important to also try and step in the shoes of the other person, but you still have like the right, I guess, to talk to them and say, hey, it really is a pet peeve of mine when you do this. So for example, we had obviously problems like this, where some people didn't like it when we would I would leave my dirty dishes in a pile on top of the fridge because nobody, like, I could reach there. And then when I came home from class, I would wash them. But someone else didn't like that. They felt like I should wash them immediately, even if I was running late to class. So, they came to me and were like, hey, Lena, it's a personal pet peeve of mine. Can we please find a solution? And then we would sit down and talk about, it sounds so like textbook, but genuinely that is what would happen. And I'm thankful that I was able to have like conversations like this where, it's just so much easier to say, like, actually, I don't, or I'm actually hungry right now, so I'd rather not talk about it until after I've eaten, because otherwise I'll be in a worse mood, or I'm really stressed right now. Can we move the conversation for tomorrow? It's just always being honest, and so that people can be more understanding of each other. It's the best.
Liam, what else are you dying to know about? Don't be
Got
shy.
any tips for managing personal free time with your friends and coursework?
I think that's the question that everyone always has forever. But I think it's a bit about it's a bit about priorities, and it's a bit about like, I don't know, it's a bit about also taking care of yourself. Like, obviously you're not going to go and study super hard every single night, but you're also not going to go crazy and go do other adventures every single day after class. I found that a way to achieve this balance was to have friends that I could study with, but friends that I could also hang out with and not study with. So it was like I was hanging out with my friends while I was studying. And this could either be just going to the library, and then if it was in town, we could go walk around a little bit, or we would have a dinner together and then study. And then once we're done studying, watch a movie. Sometimes like combining it, these things doesn't work for everyone. If you're better at studying alone, or if you get too distracted by having someone else in the room with you. What we would do is we would literally face away from each other so that we couldn't see each other, but so that we could still like keep each other company. I would, every time I got a class, I would look through the syllabus and put in my calendar important dates, important projects. And I knew that like, depending on how big the project was, the day before I couldn't do anything, and maybe a couple of days before that, I really would want to focus on that. And so I wouldn't really want to plan any big dinners or any big outings or hikes or anything like that. So that's kind of like how I would help like myself know, okay, well, this Thursday, I actually don't want to go and join you on to go watch a movie because tomorrow I have a really big presentation. Or yeah, Monday I can because I had just finished something, so I have more time. It's hard to balance. It takes practice. I'm still practicing.
So I guess if we want to wrap things up a bit, Alina, what is your sort of one piece of advice? It's December of your senior year of high school. You've got a few months of school left. You got to, coast through the end of the school year. Have one summer before you have to go start trying to figure out adulthood. I mean, I'm 36 and I'm still trying to figure it out in a lot of ways. So, but what's your one piece of advice for Liam as he goes through these last few months?
I would say be open and take as many opportunities as you can. No matter like in what form they may come. Maybe it's like a project with someone that you didn't really want to do the project with. Well, they might turn out to be super good or super cool. Or someone invites you to an event that you would have never thought of going to. Like, I don't know if I really want to go listen to that panelist talk about something I don't know anything about. Or, things like that. There's so many, especially just going to a new place, there's so many opportunities. And even if you do something that you end up not really liking at the end, okay, now you know. There's just so much to gain from every single new thing that you're going to be able to try. And maybe some old things, since you've been there, some old things that you can see in a new light and try again.
Okay, Alina, thank you so much for your time this evening for you. Really appreciate you connecting with us and, such a relaxed and easygoing spirit and vibe. I can feel the pura vida of Costa Rica oozing through the Zoom. So really lovely to talk to you this morning. I wish some more of our seniors had rolled out of bed, but such is being in 12th grade. Liam, thank you so much for logging in this morning and giving up your free morning to wake up early and have this chat for us. I think it's really great when we can connect our grade 12 students to our recent alumni, and it's better that you share these experiences with each other. Really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.